What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great day. And today we're talking about drones with my great friend Ken Haynes. And Ken, what drone is it everybody who really may be a hobbyist should consider?
Great question, Sid. I get this question all the time. What drone should I buy? And it really depends on what you're looking to do. A lot of people are buying drones for their kids. How much should I spend? What should I get them? So without like putting too much thought behind it, I'll say this. If you're just starting out, go small. It's the best way to get yourself into the air and kind of reduce your risk. So for hobby, for your kid, go small, something like this. You're going to see a lot of the DJI drones today. It's the kind of the leader in the industry, but there's plenty of drones out there to choose from. So I won't tell you what kind of drone to buy, but I will tell you a little bit in this conversation about what to look for. So number one, if you're just starting out, I would go small, something that is not going to cause a lot of damage to you, your neighbors, or your kids, and especially not your bank account if that thing comes out of the sky and smacks somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as of the new lighter drones, I know that there's a couple of lighter ones. Anyone that in particular that really has piqued your interest that you've seen out there?
No, there's tons of really great drones, Sid, and what you want to look for is what's going to fit what you're going to do. So, in the drone industry, there's hobbyists, and those are the guys that fly for fun. And then there's commercial guys like myself. I have my own drone company, AGL Drone Services, and we fly for money. And so we have to be certified and we have to have the proper drones, but it still boils down to what is it you're going to do. So when you start looking for drones, obviously there's a size component to it. How much range do you have? But ultimately what a lot of people look for is this piece right in here. What are you getting from the drone? How good are the pictures that you can take? How good is the video you can take? What kind of data collection can you get out of it? How much flight time? Can you fly in weather? All these are things that go into your decisions about what kind of a drone to buy for your purpose.
Makes sense. And I know when people and myself, I remember getting a drone and getting out there and just wanting to fly anything, like especially for people really getting going when they get their drone, the first steps that they really want to think about in preparing for flying it.
Yeah, yes. So like I remember my first drone, super intimidated, never flown one before. And you can get so focused on the drone itself, especially, kids at Christmas. You're like, hey, let's get this thing in the air. And you want yourself or your kid to be able to unwrap that thing and get out and do it. So do a little bit of groundwork because there are rules. We are in airspace that's being shared with the FAA, the other aircraft. It's not actually the FAA in the airspace. They control the airspace, but there's other aircraft, there's private airplanes, there's commercial airplanes, there's crop dusters and flight for life helicopters and all these things. So the biggest thing you want to know is where you're flying, what kind of airspace you're in, and is it safe to have your drone there?
Makes sense. And there's obviously a few decent apps out there, at least for people that are getting started. Anyone that you would, or a couple that you might recommend?
Yeah, real easy. The FAA does make one. It's called Before You Fly, and I think it's the letter B and 4, and then you fly or something. Not my favorite one. That's the one the FAA does, but there's some other ones out there like Kitty Hawk or AirMap, Skyward. Any of them will tell you what kind of airspace is out there. And just do a little research. The FAA website has a lot of good information about what you should and shouldn't do. And we'll cover a little bit of that in this conversation. And like I said, if your kid's going out to fly, he just wants to go out have fun, but you want to make sure that you're not on the hook if something happens. And so just know what they're getting into before they go out and get into it for you.
Now, I know there's some newer drones that are light that are under the limits.
Yep.
And so in regards to those, as far as registering with the FAA, anything people should be aware about registering where they don't need to.
Yeah, once again, with the with the rules with drones, the FAA, city rules, county rules, state rules, and all this stuff, it's kind of a moving train. So you're always taking a snapshot. So I'm not going to quote you any rules right now, but yes, 0.55 pounds and under is one category, 0.55 and up is another. We have something called remote ID that's in the works that's coming out, which I'm not going to get into, but the best way to figure out what you need is to do a little research with the FAA's website to find that out, because there are several things. There's the registration issue, and once again, as a commercial guy, I have to do it. As a hobbyist, you used to have to do it, then you didn't have to do it, and so there's going back and forth. So the best thing that we don't date this video is to go and check the current rules as they are today, because tomorrow they might be different.
Yeah, it seems like they're changing it quite a bit. I do get some information on those from time to time. I absolutely love flying drones. As far as also areas that really people should definitely stay away from when considering flying their drone.
Airports. Yep.
Yeah.
Go where the other aircraft aren't is the best, and go where the people aren't. People are like, okay, well, I got this brand new drone. What should I do with it? And I always say, go to a field where nobody else is, no power lines, no people, no airplanes, and go crash it out there. Now, as you know, drones aren't, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to fly a drone. They're pretty easy. It's not like an RC airplane. They're relatively easy to do. The tough part is knowing where you should be and shouldn't be. So don't be near airports. Don't be near hospitals that have flight for life people. Don't be near a wildfire when it's going on. You read about all that in the papers every day. So stay away from everything, especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned about crashing. Do you find people are getting insurance specifically for their drones, and do you find a lot of insurance companies offer that?
Yeah, once again, the especially from a commercial perspective, I have crashed a drone or two, and know this: if you're going to fly drones, you're going to crash drones, and you'll get better as you go on. But that's kind of just one of the realities of the industry, is you'll probably crash at some point. And the question isn't so much, can I get my drone replaced? Because like I said, this might be a $1,500 drone, which that's about right. About $1,500. And in my industry, I use it, I make my money off of it. And unfortunately, this drone will be replaced by the next great drone, probably within 12 to 18 months after it comes out or something like that. And so I don't even insure my drones, but I do insure me. I take liability. As a commercial guy, I have $1 million policy in liability. As a homeowner, you'd want to take that into consideration. As a parent, you'd want to take that liability under consideration. So it's best to talk to your agent. Does your umbrella policy cover it, or do you need an umbrella policy? Just talk to your agent and find out what you need to cover. But like I said, I don't even insure my drones because I'll just buy a new one. They're not that expensive.
Right. As far as your experience, best story, worst story, tell us some good stories that you've had with your drones.
Well, I think the worst story, I was doing a mapping mission, and it was pretty early on in my career, and I was doing a mapping mission. And if you're familiar with mapping mission, it's an automated flight that goes back and forth. And the thing was at 400 feet, it's coming across, and I'm looking at it, everything's going perfect. So I'm not even touching the controls. It's just flying from waypoint to waypoint. And all of a sudden I get this sinking feeling as the drone drops out of the air. Total situation. Still don't know what happened to it. And I just watched that thing come down, gut-wrenchingly smash into the ground and go into a million pieces. And fortunately, I was in a place where it didn't come down on anybody, but it was that big realization of, oh, geez, these things come out of the air. That's kind of scary. So that was probably my worst. I've had so many good stories, I wouldn't even know where to tell you. But as a commercial guy, I worked with the FAA and the NTSB and the aircraft manufacturer to actually recover parts of a crashed airplane, which was probably really cool in my career. But there's nothing better, and I think you can relate to this. You go out on an early morning, there's low clouds or something off in the distance, you got this monster sunrise, something's really cool, and you come back and you download all your stuff, and you have this brilliant, just awesome pictures and video, and you're like, that's cool. So those are, great experiences.
Yeah, awesome. As we're kind of wrapping up this video, and I'm so glad, and we'll have to have some more conversations. Anything else, last little bit that you could think about as there's more and more brands coming out now too, so it can really make your head spin. So any last minute advice for people that we haven't covered that we could maybe add to this video?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if you start doing your research, you're going to find out that, this drone flies farther and stays in the air longer and has better video quality than this one. And, what I tell you today about a drone or the kind of drone that you should buy is going to, once again, date the video, because tomorrow there's going to be the next best, baddest thing out there. So your budget has some consideration. Your needs, what you want to do with the drone has some consideration. But once again, size and liability, I can talk about that all day long, but I want to show you something here. This is,
oh my God, look at your big one. Look at my smaller one.
Check this out. So here's one and here's another.
Wow.
And I can tell you, there's a lot of weight to this one, not so much to this one. So, do your homework, figure out what you want to do with it, and go out there and look for the drones that suit your purposes best. I will say that in the commercial arena, DJI is the big hitter there.
Yeah, and you live in Colorado, so obviously the altitude in the air is thinner. How does that, anything that people should be aware about that as well for those that do live in in a climate environment?
Yeah, I've got that question a lot, and as a pilot myself, certainly density altitude has a lot to do with the performance of the aircraft. I personally have flown all over the state and honestly couldn't tell you a big difference between flying at 11 or 12,000 feet and flying at 6,200. I don't notice that much. There probably is obviously some performance issues, but not to the scales that which you would notice it in, say, an airplane, at least for me.
Gotcha. Good stuff. Well, Ken, it's been a pleasure. If somebody is interested on any commercial needs, how can they reach you?
Yeah, I've got a whole nother website and a YouTube channel that's dedicated to drones and the business of drones. So if the viewers are looking for information on how to start a drone company, how to run a drone company, how to price their services, how to get work, things like that, UASProPilots.com. UAS, obviously unmanned aerial systems, UASProPilots.com, or you can just slip it over to my YouTube channel under the same name and pick up a bunch of good content there.
Great, and I'll be sure to put Ken's links in the description. Please leave any questions you have, comments, how your experience has been being a newbie in the drone world. Although I've been flying one for a little while, I've been flying those into branches and having some fun with it, but it's amazing. It just gives a whole different life experience. I've shared with you some of my videos. I just have a blast with it. Just be smart when you get a drone, where you're using it, and don't do something that can get you in trouble.
Yep, and ask questions if you got them.
Yeah. Ken, thanks as always. We know each other now about 6-7 years, and I learn so much from you all the time, and you really know your stuff when it comes to drones, so thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Pleasure talking today.
Awesome. Have a great.
This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, sorry. I hit the recording, but I wanted to show you.